Good evening to everyone and welcome to the SPM Revision Seminar online. And today's subject is maths. Before I introduce to the speaker, would anyone who like to ask a question answered by the speaker, please post your questions on the chat box so we can read them out during the Q&A session. Besides that, for the Form 5 students this year, we are offering School Achievers Scholarship Award, SASA. We do highly encourage all Form 5 viewers to submit your application through our webpage. For more information, please log on to our webpage to find out more. Today we have Miss Rani from the American and Canadian Education. Over to you, Miss Rani.
Thank you, Mohan. Okay, selamat datang pada pelajar. Selamat datang ke sesi ulang kaji matematik tambahan minggu ke-6. Okey, pada minggu ini kita akan buat dua topik yang terlalu heavy, that is differentiation and integration, pembezaan dan pengamiran. Okey, so saya akan menyambung sesi ini dalam bahasa Inggeris. Okay, the chapter that we are looking at is Form 4 Chapter 9, which is differentiation. And there are few things that you need to know in this topic, mainly how to differentiate a basic function, how to differentiate a composite function using product rule, quotient rule, and how to find gradient and equation for tangent and normal. And then the application, more on the application part, is how to find maximum and minimum point, how to find rate of change and small changes. And in your SPM, there's always one or two questions from this chapter in paper 1. In paper 2, there's always one question, is either in part A or part B. Whereas a chapter from Form 5, there's chapter 3 integration, which is a link with the differentiation, the reverse process. So in this topic, the main 4 things that you need to know is how to integrate a sum and difference of terms, how to use the substitution method, how to do a definite integral, and then the final one, always application part, is area and volume. Okay, again in paper 1 there'll be one or two questions, and paper 2 there's always one question. Okay, if you have done the survey over the past year, between the differentiation integration there is a link in the question. If 2 questions is asked in paper 1 in differentiation, then there will be only one question in integration in paper 1. So either 2 from differentiation, 1 from integration, or 1 from differentiation and 2 from integration in paper 1. And the link in paper 2 is, if your question for differentiation in part A, then the question for integration will be in part B, the opposite. Most of the time, question for integration is always in part B, except for last year, the question for integration was in part A, and the question for differentiation was in part B. Okay, so it can be anywhere around for this year. So let's look mainly the topic on differentiation. What you need to know is the basic concept. What you get when you differentiate different type of function, what is the result of it, and then you need to know your product rule, your quotient rule, your power rule, and your chain rule. These are main things. All this you have learned under the topic of differentiation, and then you must know how to find equation of a line. You know that dy dx is equivalent to the gradient, or sometimes we call it as the slope. Okay, so you are asked to find the gradient for tangent as well the gradient for normal, and then you might be asked to find the equation of tangent as well the equation of normal. So you need to know the connection between this. And the application part, there are 3 major applications that normally asked is the turning point, which is known as maximum minimum. And for turning point, remember when you ask a turning point means your dy dx is equals to 0, is a horizontal gradient or horizontal slope. If your dy dx is greater than 0 or less than 0, it means it's a slanted. It's either in the positive direction or negative. So if your dy dx is greater than 0, is in positive direction, or we call it positive slope. Is less than 0, is a negative slope. And then which will be your maximum or minimum? Turning point is your maximum minimum. How do you identify? You have to do your second derivative. If your second derivative at the given point is greater than 0, then it's a minimum. If it's less than 0, it's a maximum. You can see less is maximum, greater is minimum. So this is how you identify. Then the second one that you are looking at is related rate of change. Okay, if y is given as a function of x, you want to find the rate of changes with respect to time. So you need to find the rate of changes of x, therefore you can find what is the rate changes of y, or the other way around. It depends on the question. And the last type of application you will see is small changes. What happens if your x change by certain amount? What is the changes in y? So according to your rules of limit, so we say that del y over del x is approximately dy equals to dy over dx. So from here we get a formula, and then sometimes they ask you to find what is the new value for x or new value for y. So you need to know what is the initial one at the beginning before the changes take place, combine it to give you the new value. So these are the formulas that you need to know. Then comes to the next chapter that is called integration. Okay, for integration, what you need to know is your indefinite integral, which is the opposite of your differentiation. And then you must know your definite integral. And remember, some of your limit here, a over b, be careful, is it a over b, b over a, or there is a new point c. So the formulas changes accordingly. And then the application part is area and volume. Normally the question for area and volume all the time will be in your paper 2 for integration. So in paper 1, if they ask area, is very straightforward from the diagram, but the more complicated one will come in paper 2. So we're going to look at paper 1 and paper 2 for differentiation as well as integration. So let's go through. The first question here is the one we're going to look is on differentiation. Important for you to know is what is given and what you want to find. Okay, the first thing given here is your turning point. So your turning point is given as negative 1q. So you need to know what is negative 1q stand for. Turning point means maximum or minimum. They did not say it's maximum and minimum, no worries. Turning point means at the turning point, just now I gave you the formula, your dy dx must be 0. This is for your turning point. Your dy dx must be 0, and you're given also the point is given as negative 1q. So that means your x is 1 and your y is q. So from the function here, what you do is you find your dy dx. Since you're given y is px power 4 plus 2x, differentiate. This is very basic differentiation. Okay, so since this is dy dx, at the turning point, your dy dx is 0 when your x equals to negative 1. So what we do is we put dy dx is 0 when x equals to negative 1. So from here, very clear that you can see the value for p. So let's simplify this. So you have negative 4p plus 2. So 4p equals to 2, so p equals to half. So you have found your p. Now how to find q? Q is the coordinate of y at the turning point. So since you already know what is your p, so your function here now will be y is half, because p is half, x power 4 plus 2x. So when x equals to negative 1, your y is given as q. So what will be your q? Replace your y as q equals to half replace your x, and then we can simplify this, so you'll get 1/2 minus 2, so your q is -3/2. Okay, this is a question from paper 1. Simple, direct forward. The important word is turning point, what it means. Okay, let's look at another question of paper 1. You are given L in terms of t, and you're given x in terms of t. So they ask you to find the connection dl dx. So in this case, it's more on using a chain rule formula, because you want to find L in terms of x, but L is given in terms of t. So you want to find L in terms of x, so you want to find dl over dx. So what we have is, okay, I separate the dl dx. So what we know is L is in terms of t, so therefore you put dt dx. So this is same as dl over dt times, because x is a function of t, this is same as 1 over dx over dt. So what we have, when you differentiate your L with respect to t, what do you get when you differentiate your x with respect to t? When you differentiate your x, L with respect to t, you will get 4 minus 2t. Okay, times, when you differentiate your x with respect to t, you will get 6, so you get 1/6. So when you simplify this, you get 2 minus t over 3. So that will be your answer for this. Okay, so you have found this. That is answer your part A. So this is called a chain rule, the way to do it in the concept of a chain rule. Then the second part is they ask you to find the small changes in x when your L changes from 3 to 3.4. So we are talking about the concept of small changes. So what we have is, since you are given dl dx, we already found in the first part, so we can find the connection here. Since dl dx is given in this form, so what we have is del L over del x is approximately same as dl over dx for small changes. Okay, so you want to find the changes, okay, is same as dl over dx times del x. But what is given to you is del L, the changes, the small changes in L. And what is the small changes in L? You take the values here, you take the later value minus the initial value. The new value is 3.4 minus 3. Okay, be careful when you're doing your plus, your minus. You always must take the latest minus your initial. Okay, so sometimes this value might be a negative. That means there's a decrease. It can be an increase or decrease. In this case, your L is increased from 3 to 3.4. So the difference are positive. There are times it can be a decrease. So be careful when you do that. Okay, you already know the dl dx. You are given the formula here from the first part, and t is given. So put in all. So 0.4. dl dx is given 2 minus your t is 1. You're given t is 1 over 3 times del x. So what we have is, you have in this form, bringing it over. So your del x will be 1.2. If the question wanted in fraction, you can put it as 6/5. So 6/5 is in fraction. So be careful when you work it out in fraction. Okay, so that is your answer. This is a straightforward question in paper 1. So now let's look at a question in paper 2, a bit more complicated. Okay, You are given the function y is 5 over x squared. First, they ask you to find dy dx when x is 3. So part A, y is 5 over x squared, or you can write it 5x power negative 2 and do your differentiation. So what we have is, recall back how you do your differentiation, negative 10x power negative 3, or you can write it as, okay, after you have done this, since you are given the point x is 3, so you can find your dy dx will be negative 10 over 3 to the power 3, or you can say negative 10 over 27. These have answered your part A. Now for part B is the one you're going to confuse. 2.98. Is my value x is 2.98? No. When they ask you to use, when they use the word estimate, don't use your calculator and get the answer. You have to do the calculus way to solve it, and there will be a link with part A. So 2.98, the nearest integer is 3. So we have done it in part A when x is 3. So the nearest integer is 3. So what we are finding is, assume this is y, we call it y new, is equals to y, your initial y, plus your changes. So y new is this, the one you wanted. Initial y is with the initial value where we say the nearest integer here is 3. Then you have to find the changes in y. So how we go about doing this? So y initial, I'm going to do one by one. Y initial will be by putting into your original equation 5 over your initial value, the nearest integer is this, so put it into your y. So what you get is 5 over 9. Now how to find the changes in y? Like the previous question, the y will be dy dx times del x. So what is your del x? Okay, your initial value, we round it up, we put it as 3. And the new value for x is 2.98. So you take 2.98 minus 3. Don't forget, this will give you a negative value. Okay, so this is your del x. So we already have dy dx. From the first part, we already have the value for dy dx. At the point x equals to 3, we already found. So negative 10 over 27, because the initial value, we call it 3, and we already found it. Multiply with your negative 0.02. So what we have is, when you put it in decimal, just write the decimal point here, 0.07407. So we already found the y, we already found the initial value. So what is the new value? The new value that is 2 for 2.98 power 2 will be your initial 5 over 9 plus the changes 0.07407. So use your calculator, you can work it out, you can put it to 5 decimal. Unless the question have asked you, in this case they didn't ask you how many decimal, so I'm just going to put it into 5 decimal. So this will be your final answer. So you have to round it up to the nearest integer, and that nearest integer will give you a easier value for your initial value, and then you find the changes in y, then sum it up both, because the new value for y will be the initial value plus the changes. And these changes, be careful, you can have a plus or minus. In this case, because both are negative values, so it's end up being a positive. Sometimes one is positive, one is negative. This can be a negative, then don't forget to put negative here. Okay, don't always think it must be a positive. Okay, now let's look at other type of question. Okay, this is an application question as well. It's talking about rate of changes. Okay, so you have a balloon, and the form of balloon we always say is a sphere. Okay, and the volume for a sphere is given as 4/3 pi r cube. This one you need to know, and mostly some of the formula is given during your admits exam. They give you some formulas, so you can find this formula as well. So they ask you to find the rate of changes of this balloon when the volume at the beginning, this is the volume at the beginning, at the instant is 32/3 pi. So what will be the rate of changes for the radius? Rate of changes for the radius. And what you see here, this 16 pi, what is this stand for is the air bubble is released from balloon. And since it's in cube, this is considered as volume. So there's a decrease in volume because air bubble is released from the balloon. So we want to find what is the changes in the radius of the balloon at the point when the volume is 32/3 pi. So using this, first we find out what is the radius, because we are not given the information about what is the radius at the initial point. So since your volume is given, so 4/3 pi r cube is equals to 32/3 pi. Okay, cancel wherever you can simplify. I can cancel 3 pi. So I have r cube equals to 8. So r will be 2. Radius cannot be negative. So after you have found your radius, now we can use the formula rate of changes. What is the formula for rate of changes? Since v is a function of r, so you want to find dv dt is given. So it will be dv, you put dt, so dv dr, dr. So this is how we find the connection. So we can differentiate with respect to r, we get 4 pi r square, and dr dt is what we want to find. What is dv dt is already given to you. So let's put it in. dv dt is 16 pi. Is this correct? Wrong. It's supposed to be negative because release is decreasing. Air is being going out from the balloon. So it's decreasing. 4 pi r. What is r stand for? 2. So 2 square dr dt. Okay, so from here, so dr dt will be negative 16 pi over 16 pi. So what you have is -1, and what is your unit? cm per second. That is your answer. Okay, this can be a question in paper 1. Very short and so on. Okay, another type of question that you might get is when it's involved again a word maximum or minimum, but some of the value is unknown. So this is a bit complicated. You have A, B, C unknown. You are given the word minimum at this point and pass through this point. So from here you can see 3 information. So when I say minimum, very clear, you must say dy dx equals to 0 at that point at x equals to -2. That is the condition, because the minimum happened at x is -2. And then you can use -2 to 2 to form another equation, and you can use -1,5 to form another equation. So you will have 3 equations. So let's form the first equation. When you say dy dx equals to 0, so what we need to do is we need to differentiate. So y is ax squared plus bx plus c. So when you differentiate this, you get 2ax plus b. Okay, using this is first condition, second condition, and third condition. Okay, since it's involved dy dx, we are using the first condition. So we say that this will equals to 0 at the point x is -2. So 0, 2a, x is negative 2 plus b. So what you get is b equals to 4a. We can't solve it, not enough information. So now use the second condition. So your second condition is, okay, this is your first condition. We already form an equation. Let's say I call it equation 1. From your second condition, negative 2, 2. So negative 2, 2 means your x is negative 2, your y equals to 2. So what do you have? 2a negative 2 square plus b times negative 2 plus c. So if you rewrite this, so you get 4a minus 2b plus c equals to 2. Let's say I call it equation 2. From the third condition given, what we have is negative 1, 5. So y is 5, a, x is negative 1. And let's simplify this. You will get a minus b plus c equals to 5. So equation 3. So you have 3 equations. Solve these 3 equations, simultaneous equation, to find your ABC, which is easiest. First is equation 2 and 3. I can cancel off the c. So 2 minus 3. So we have 3a minus b equals to negative 3. And then replace 1 into this. So if I call it equation 4, so 1 into 4. So when you replace, so you get 3a minus b is 4a equals to negative 3. So what you have is negative a is negative 3, therefore a equals to 3. So since we know b is 4a, so b equals to 4 times 3, so equals to 12. And using equation 2 or 3, you can find c. So let's say we use equation 3. So you will have a, which is 3 minus 12 plus c equals to 5. So from here, you can find your c. So bring it across, negative 9 plus 5, so you get 14. So that's answer your ABC. This can be a question in paper 2. So you have more working to be done here to show, and you must be careful. Minimum turning, maximum means your dy dx equals to 0. Okay, another question like what we have done just now, estimate, but what you see is the type of function given here. So what I'm going to do is, let me just hope enough space. So we have y is 1 over 2x, or you can write it 1 over 2x power negative 1. When you differentiate this, what you will get is negative 1 over 2x squared. So you want to find what is your del y. But before you find your del y, look at the point here and this. You need to find the link between this. 2x here is 20.1. So 2x is 20.1. What will be x? 10.05. So your new value for x is 10.05. So this is new value. So what is the initial value of x? We always try to round it out to the nearest integer, that is 10. So what is the changes? Will be 10.05 minus 10. So you will get 0.05. So this is the changes. Be careful, 2x is 20.1, not just x, okay? 2x, you must follow the equation. So from here, del y equals to dy over dx times del x. So dy dx, we already know 1 over 2, and our initial value, you put it at 10, initial value as 10 square, and the changes is 0.05. So when you calculate this, you will get negative 0.00025. So now the question wanted you to find 1 over 20.1. So this means your initial value is 1 over 2 times 10. Initial is 1 over 2x. X initial is 10. plus your changes. Your changes is negative 0.00025. Okay, if you use your calculator, you calculate this, you will get 0.04975. Unless the question wants you to put it in 4 decimal or 3 decimal, you follow up. In this case, no problem. So be careful here. This is the part I want to emphasize here is 2x is 20.1. Some students might skip the 2, they say x. So that's why you have to be careful. Okay, let's go for question on integration. Okay, we have done differentiation. Now we come to integration. This is last year's paper 1 question, straightforward. 3 to k fy dy is given. But now they ask you from k to 3. So from k to 3 for fy dy. Okay, the rule says if you put the 4, it's a constant, you can leave it outside. If I want to change it to 3 to k, the lower and upper limit, I swap the order. So I need to put a negative here. So then only I can change it to 3k. So if you see into my earlier slide, I've shown this. When you change the order, you put a negative. So fy dy. So what do you have? This is given to you, 3/2. So put it in. So you get negative 6. Some students will miss out this negative sign. So just be careful. Is it the same order? Okay. If it's the same, then you no need to put negative. But if it's a different, you want to swap to make it the same, make sure you put it negative. Each time you swap this, you add on a negative. Okay, part B. You are given from 3 to k, the same order, 2 minus fy dy equals to 4. So what we do is, the 2 is something extra. So what we do, we break it up. You can break it up to 2 separate functions. Minus 3k fy dy equals to 4. And this is already given to you, and this is a very basic integration. When you integrate 2, you will get 2y. And then you substitute your limit k3. And for this, it's already given to you is equivalent to 3/2. So just put it 3/2 equals to 4. Okay, let's simplify this part. 2k minus 6 minus 3/2 equals to 4. And then bring all your constant across. Okay, bring all your constant across, and then you can find what is your k. So when you bring it across, so 4 plus 6 is 10. 10 plus 3/2, so you get 23/2. Okay, so what is your k? 23/4. Okay, this is a question in paper 1. Okay, simple, straightforward. No volume, no area. Area and volume always come in paper 2. Okay, now we see question in paper 2. And paper 2 is always come, all the years was in section B. But last year was in section A. This was in 2018. It was a paper 2, question 10. Okay, what given to you is a straight line. The straight line can you see here? And your curve is given here. So this straight line touches the curve at the point A. So what they ask you to find is the coordinate of A. So you have 4y equals to x minus 2, and you have x equals to y squared plus 6. So you have 2 equations. When it touches or intersect, you just solve simultaneous equation. So what we do is we substitute 2 into 1. So put it, your x is easier to solve. So 4y equals to, substitute your x with the y squared plus 6 minus 2. Bring all the terms together, you will get a quadratic function. So what you have is y squared minus 4y plus 4 equals to 0. If you factorize this, you will get y equals to 2. Okay, touches me is a repeated root. You learn under quadratic function. Repeated root means it touch a point. Okay, that answer your A. So what's your coordinate for A? 0. Coordinate for A, forgot your y, x value. So what will be your x? So x will be 2 square plus 6. So you get 10. So your coordinate will be 10, 2. So we already found coordinate for A. Now part B. Area of the shaded region. So before we can go further, you need to find this coordinate at this point. So this is a straight line where it touch your x-axis. So when you have 4y equals to x minus 2, this is a straight line, touch your x-axis means you're putting your y 0. So from here, by putting your y 0, you get x equals to 2. So the point here is 2. And then also we need to know what is this point. The curve touches your x-axis again. For the curve, it touches x-axis. So your y is 0. So what do you get? This also will give you the value 6. And for point A, we already found the value for x is 10. Okay, we already calculated. So what you can see is a triangle. You can see it's a triangle, a right angle triangle minus this part, the one I shade here, will give you the area of the shaded region. So how to find the area of a triangle here? So area for triangle will be half the base. What is the length of the base? 10 minus 2, which is 8. And the height of this triangle is 2. We already found it from the first part. Remember, your y value is 2. So your area of the triangle will be 8. Now we need to find the area of this curve between 6 and 10. So that then we get the shaded region. So the area, okay, I'll just put the word curve as C. What's the formula for area? You have learned the formula for area. So it will be from 6 to 10. Since this curve is given as x is y squared plus 6, so what we need to know is what is your y in terms of x. So what you have is y squared will be x minus 6. So y will be square root x minus 6. So your function will be square root x minus 6. Then integrate respect to x. So be careful when you do your function here, because against your x-axis, your y must be in terms of x. Okay, let's work it out, the integration. Recall back, this square root means power of half. So when you integrate, so x minus 6, power of half plus 1 will be 3 over 2. Divide by 3 over 2, you change it, it becomes 2 over 3. Okay, because divide by 3 over 2. This is using your power rule. We consider a substitution method on the concept of power rule. Okay, substitution method, you can work it out this. So 2 over 3, x minus 6 power of 3 over 2. Now you can put it the limit. So put it your 10. What we have is 4 power of 3 over 2. If I put 6, I have 0. So from here we can calculate what will be the total. So this will give you 8, so 16 over 3. Okay, so now what will be the area for shaded region? Let me just put it as shaded region, will be the area of the triangle, 8 minus 16 over 3. So that will give you 8 over 3 unit square. Okay, we have not complete. We have one more part, volume. Okay, if you see, this shape is a parabola on your x-axis, mirror image on your x-axis. So when you rotate 180 degrees, you will get a complete solid because it's full is in full thing. When you rotate, you no need to rotate 360 degrees. 180 will give you a full solid. Okay, they ask you to find when this area of the region bounded by the curve straight line x equals to 8. So x equals to 8 might be somewhere here. This is 10, so 8, let's say somewhere here. So I'm looking at this part until down here. Okay, from 6 to 8. Okay, so rotate about your x-axis. So what's your formula for volume? Volume will have pi, don't forget your pi. The point will be between 6 and 8, not 10, because they're already given a straight line x equals to 8. So between 6 and 8, and what's the formula? Will be y squared dx. But what is your y square? You must put your function in terms of x. We know y squared is x minus 6. So what we have, integration of this will give you x squared over 2 minus 6x. And then you can substitute your upper and your lower limit to find the answer. So what we have, so you have 32, I simplify this, minus 48, that's the first part, minus, if I put 6, so 18 because divided by 2, minus 36. Okay, so simplify this number, finally you have 2, and don't forget there's a pi, and the symbol is unit cube. This is a question in paper 2 which carry about 10 marks. So always area and volume comes in your paper 2. Okay, all the year except for last year it was in paper 2 part A. This is paper 2 part B, which carry more mark. Part B carry more mark than part A. Okay, another simple question, straightforward, which is in paper 1 is your integration. Given to you 5 over 2x plus 3 power of n. When I integrate this, they say the result is equivalent to this. So what we do is first we try to integrate, then we compare and see what is the connection. So to make it easier to integrate, we put it in this form, power of negative n. So what we have, we call back your rules of integration. 5 is a constant, no harm. So you have 2x plus 3. What we do when we do integration, we plus 1. So negative n plus 1. Divide by negative n plus 1. And if we have used a substitution method, you need to divide by the differentiation of this, that is 2. And then plus c. So rewriting this in an easier way for you to see. So you have 2, 1 minus n, and you have 1 over 2x plus 3 power of negative n plus 1. When you bring it down is 1 minus n plus c. Okay, compare this with what is given to you. So by comparison, okay, by comparison, what we have is, we look at the power here, 2x plus 3, 1 minus n, and here given to you is 5. So what we have is 1 minus n equals to 5. 1 minus n is equals to 5. So from here, did I put it correctly? 1, 2x, 1 minus, sorry, this is, made a mistake, there's a negative here. I missed out the negative, because when you bring it down, it becomes negative. Negative 1 minus n. Okay, recall back, when n goes up, become negative n. When you bring it down, it becomes positive n. So it's positive n minus 1, not 1 minus n. Okay, so what we have is negative 1 plus n equals to 5. So you get n equals to 6. Okay, so don't forget this is negative bracket 1 minus n because you are bringing it down. So after you found this, we already can put it back into here to find what is your P. So you have 5, your P will be equivalent 5 to 1 minus 6, which will give you negative 1 over 2. So this is also a straightforward question, which is in paper 1. You just need to know the concept of integration, okay? As what I said just now, be careful with the negative m when we bring down is positive, okay? Let's look at another question. Okay, this sometimes comes in paper 1, sometimes in paper 2. When it's involved gradient, this is your gradient. So recall back, when you have an equation of a curve, and then you can find the gradient. So this is found using differentiation, but integration is the opposite. Your gradient is given, you're asked to find the equation. So the question can be asked in either way. Either given equation, find gradient, or given gradient, find equation. So in this question, your gradient is given. So your dy dx is given as x minus a over x squared. So now what the question wanted you to find is the value of a. They say the equation of the tangent at this point equals to this. So this is the equation of tangent. That means it will touch a point on the curve, which is negative 2, 5. And this is what we get. So from here, what you can see is this number. What is this number stand for? This number stands for the gradient of tangent. So normally we call it m equals to negative 3. So gradient of tangent. So since we know already what is dy dx is your gradient of tangent. Okay, so at this point, for when x is negative 2, so what we have is negative 3 is the gradient equals to your x is negative 2 minus a over negative 2 square. Okay, at the given point. So I mean your value of x is negative 2. Substitute in, and your value of your gradient of tangent is negative 3. Okay, solve this. So you have negative 1 is equals to negative a over 4. I bring it across. So what you will get here is your a equals to 4. That answer part A. Part B, forming the equation. Remember, from gradient to get the equation, you need to do integration. So what is your gradient given? Since you already know what is your value for A, so put it in. So your A is 4 over x squared. So if you want to find y, integrate respect to x. So what we have is x squared over 2. So x power of negative 2, when you integrate this, you will get 4 over x. I'm just skipping the step. I hope you know how to do it. And don't forget, the c is very important. Although there are times c can be 0, but don't skip writing this. Okay, now how to find c? Since they say one of the tangent point is negative 2, 5. That means your x is negative 2, y is 5. So use this point to find your c. So 5 is negative 2 square over 2 plus 4 over negative 2 plus c. So simplify this. So what we have, 4 over 2 plus 4 over negative 2, this becomes 0. So what you get, c is 5. So what will be your equation of the curve will be finally x squared over 2, 4 over x plus 5. Because they want the equation, don't stop at c, but write the whole thing. So this is your final answer. Okay, so remember, from gradient, you will get equation of the curve by doing integration. These are type of question that might be in paper 1. Okay, let's do one last question before we end up. Okay, this is question in paper 2 because when it's involved volume. Okay, so can you see the curve here and the straight line? First, they ask you to find what is the coordinate for A and B. So to find A is the curve which intercept your y-axis. So your curve is this. So intercept y-axis means you're putting x equals to 0. So, equal sign. Putting x equals to 0, so what do you get? 0 plus y squared equals to 4y. So y squared minus 4y equals to 0. Factorize this. So you will get y is 0 and y is 4. So 0, 0 is 1 point, which we can see it here. And the one we are looking at is 0, 4. That is your coordinate A. Okay, how about B? B is a point where your curve and your straight line intersect. So what we do is we solve simultaneous equation. So you have x plus y squared equals to 4y, equation 1, and y equals to x, we call it equation 2. So solve simultaneous equation. So replace your x with y. So 2 into 1, easier for you to solve this. So we have 2 in 1. So replace your x with y. So y plus y squared equals to 4y. So bring it all together to the same side. So y squared minus 3y equals to 0. Factorize. And you also get the point y equals to 0. And y equals to 3, but 0 is not what we want to find. That is the origin. We want to find this. So your point B, your y is 3. So what will be your x? You can put it back into any of the equation. So in equation 2, they say x is same as your y. So it means your coordinate will be 3, 3. So that's your answer for B. Okay, coordinate A, coordinate B found. Now you want to find the volume, so be careful. The curve between A and B is the curve, and then this side is a straight line. So what we need to do is we need to divide this into 2 parts. You need to find area of 2 portions here. One area is the area of this triangle, another one that involves the curve. So let's say we call it A1 and A2. So A1, you can use your formula for volume to solve both. You can do it separately, then combine it. So what will be A1? A1 will be pi between 0 and 3. Remember, this point is 3. This point is 4. So between 0 and 3, and your function is this. But since here is rotate on y-axis, be careful. Your function must be in terms of y. So your formula say x squared dy. So what is your function now? Your x equals to y, so it becomes y squared dy. You must represent in terms of y. Integrate this. Integrate this, you get y cubed over 3. And then put it 3, 0. So what you have is 9 pi. Then A2, okay, is between 3 and 4. Okay, don't forget your pi. And what is your function here? Okay, again, you need to put x in terms of y, so you will get 4y minus y squared. So it will be 4y minus y squared. Then don't forget x squared. So you need to square before you integrate. So what you need to do is, this is going to be a bit more complicated because you need to expand this. So expand the function, then you integrate. So when you expand this, okay, 4y minus y squared. So you will get 16 y squared minus 8y cubed plus y power of 4 dy. Now you need to do your integration for this. So what we have, so this will give you 16 over 3y cubed minus, okay, I simplify wherever possible. This will give you 2y power of 4. And this one will give you y power of 5 over 5. Okay, sorry, no more integration. We have the limit for 3. Okay, because we have done the integration, so we can put it. So now you can calculate this. Okay, using your calculator, you can put it in 4, then you can put in 3. And what I get in my final answer will be 53 over 15, the total. After you put in your 4 and your 3, this is what you will get. So now you want to find the area of the shaded region. So, sorry, volume, why I'm using the word area. Volume. Okay, we are talking about volume V1 and V2. Okay, volume. So volume of the shaded region will be 9 pi plus 53 over 15 pi. So you can total up this, so you will get 188 over 15 pi, and your unit, we just put it as unit cube. So that is your volume. So you have two different volumes. So in this case, can you see the limit are not the same? So this type of question will be in paper 2, part B, will carry more marks because it's more complicated. And be careful when you work it out, you have to see whether you need to divide the two into 2 parts or just 1 part to find the volume, depend on the shape of your curve. Okay, so that are the questions that you have seen for differentiation and integration. Recall that in paper 1, whatever question, differentiation and integration are straightforward. So try to do it. Only paper 2, whether you're choosing part A or part B, which will be either differentiation or integration, just be careful what the question wanted. Okay, area and volume is always comes under the topic integration in part B. For part A, normally they can ask maximum, minimum, rate of changes, small changes, all combined together. They can ask, like last year, all 3 was in paper 2, part B. Okay, so far this is the question I've given. In the Facebook, I've given you more question with the answer, just a final answer. Please try the question. You can download the question in the Facebook. Thank you for today's section. The next class that we're going to meet is not next week, the week after next. So there are 2 weeks from now that you'll be free from doing math. That doesn't mean you stop doing math. Try to do all those questions you haven't done from your textbook or revision book or the question that I've given to you. So remember, knowledge is a treasure. Practice is the key to it. So always practice. Thank you to everybody. Good night, everyone. I will get back to you in a question and answer section. Back to you, Mohan.
Okay, 1 second.
Good job. Well done, guys. It's a fantastic film. How did you do it?
We learn from the best, sir. When we want to make a commercial video, we need to think about our target market as well as the process of making the cloak as well. Our lectures teach us that to make a promo video, we need to start visualizing and conceptualizing.
So from concept, we move on to the production phase. We only took 3 days to shoot and 2 days to edit and color correct it.
After that,
Here we are, presenting in front of you.
but what if your plan fails? What is your alternative?
So in PR, we learned that with great power comes great responsibility, which is why we always have a backup plan, a plan B.
Good explanation. I like it a lot. Now, can we watch it one more time before we release it?
Sure.
Scene 3, take 3.
You love films. You enjoy communicating. You want to direct. You need to make a difference. Then it hits you. Which university? Health University. You talk, you apply, you wait. And you get in. On day one, you hit the ground running. They give you a camera. You go on location. The jungle, the city. You make features, documentaries, you report, discover, investigate. You go live and say, welcome to the Faculty of Arts and Communication. You play with data, with sound, with music, with effects, explosions, holograms, in a stunning media faculty. Be a DJ in the radio station. Use broadcast quality equipment. You are the creator of worlds. You communicate ideas. You market that dream. Be with international professionals, leading academics, industry icons. Seek their advice. You get in the papers, create posters, trailers, whole marketing campaigns. You learn how to strategize, pitch, win awards. You intern, you're in demand, and graduate. You get a call from Mike in Penang. He says something like, we start shooting on Monday. Are you in? Of course you're in. You're ready.
And action.
The future is bright. The future is health.
Over to you, Miss Rani.
Okay, thanks, Mohan. Okay, there's two questions here. When do we use dy dx equals to 0? As what I told you, dy dx is 0 means it's a horizontal gradient. And when this happens, it's at the maximum or the minimum point. So the question might just say, find the value x at the turning point. So you must understand turning point means dy dx is 0. Or they can say at the maximum or minimum point, you use the concept dy dx is 0. Okay, that is how the word, from the word you need to understand what is turning point, maximum and minimum. These are the point where dy dx is 0. Remember, turning point are maximum, minimum. Okay, so at this point dy dx is 0. The second question that was asked, who created or discovered differentiation integration? If you can go into the website, you can see one of the person is Newton Isaac. He have created differentiation, then followed by his friend or maybe his working colleague Leibniz did the first time with the integration, but it did not stop there. It went further to differential calculus that is much more higher than this. So there are many more parts, three-dimensional differentiation and integration. How do you do that? Okay, but this is an interesting topic and my favorite topic of calculus. Okay, so that's the two questions that I have. If any of you have any question, anytime, I've given you my email address. You can write to me personally or in the Facebook, I will answer your question. Okay, thank you everyone. Good night wherever you are. Back to you, Mohan.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Rani, and hopefully we have learned something and have a clear thought about this session. And tomorrow's session will be maths at 8 p.m. too. So see you all tomorrow and good night.